moving on from that, there was no news, which is bad news for the Bengals. They let both T.R. Tart and Mekhi Becton walk out of the building without a contract.
Doesn't mean that they're not going to sign.
This week. Which, yeah, you're right, 100%. But fans are getting restless because we're used to when a player comes down to Cincinnati and has a good old nice steak with Joe Burrow that they usually sign shortly after. That's not happened. So are we ready to hit panic button and pivot to a different situation? Or are we still going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and hope for the best?
Casey, are we ready to hit the panic button? I don't know if you've been on X.com. I don't know if you've been on Twitter. But people are already hitting the panic button. I have never seen the court of public opinion in a fandom change as quickly as it did from Wednesday afternoon to Thursday evening. The Bengals get younger, more explosive, cheaper at running back. They get Mike Gesicki, the first tight end that you can get really excited about in this current angle of the current era of the Bengals. They get a guy that was second in the NFL in interceptions at safety for a steal of a deal, and they bring back a captain that had his best years in Cincinnati. Oh, and they get a guy that has a higher rate of getting to the quarterback from the interior line than they've ever had in Sheldon Rankins. And what was everyone saying? You get on Twitter, oh my God, look at Duke cook. Let Duke cook. This team is all the way back. And then DJ Reader signs with the Detroit Lions. Oh my God, what are we doing? And I think that the big thing is the deal that DJ Reader got was much cheaper than we anticipated. But listen, I was raised Roman Catholic. And I don't know if you know anything about Roman Catholicism, but we're kind of blind. We just blindly follow in faith, right? Much to the chagrin. I am going to give some leeway to Duke Tobin. And even saying that, I don't understand what the big deal is. I get DJ Reader might have been the best defensive player the Bengals have had over the past few years. I get that he's one of the best run plugs in the league. And we don't have an option at this moment. There's still T.R. Tart. There's still guys. But we don't have someone filling that hole now. But I'm not going to get worked up because a guy that has gotten into his 30s now, that is coming off a very bad injury, I'm not going to get worked up because he's not back. I don't get hung up on the guys of the past. I look to the future. And if we're going to do the context thing again, the rumor is the Bengals' offer to DJ Reader was a slap in the face. That they didn't like it. That it was terrible. And then he goes to Detroit, and this is where context is. Another team, a very smart team. They don't give him a whole lot of money either. That makes you think that there's risk involved here, guys. It makes you think, and I know that's part of it, right? We could have got DJ Reader for a cheaper deal. But I'm not going to get worked up. I didn't get worked up last year. Everyone on this show, are the Bengals better today than they were in the AFC Championship game? And I kept saying, yeah. We didn't sign our backup running back. We didn't sign our tight end. We didn't sign a couple of safeties. And were they better? No. They still won 9 games despite not having a healthy quarterback for 13 of the 17 games. Despite playing one of the best schedules, hardest schedules in NFL history, they won 9 games. I'm not going to get worked up because we didn't bring back DJ Reader. I'm going to give a little faith. Now, if we start seeing more of these nose tackles pop off the free agent list, then cause for concern, sure. But let's just pump the brakes, guys. I've never seen public opinion change as quickly as it did. from Wednesday to Thursday. Never, ever. From let Duke cook to this team doesn't know what the hell they're doing. It's groupthink is all it is. It's groupthink. And I refuse to fall into that camp. Because I know, and I'll let Casey, I'll let you talk here, because you're more pessimistic than I am. At the end of the day, we've still got that blonde boy. At the end of the day, we still got Zach Taylor. At the end of the day, we still got Jamar Chase. All the pieces, most of the pieces that were here, went to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship, are still here. I'm not going to get worked up because we're letting a 30-year-old guy who's been a phenomenal player in his career in stripes, but he's coming off an injury. I'm not going to because I like every single move that they have made. I think that they've gotten much better at safety. I think that once again, we are pushing back the line on the interior. I think that we have given Joe Burrow a weapon in the red zone, a viable weapon. And on top of that, we are getting younger, less tread on the tires, and cheaper at running back, which I've been preaching for years. So I'm not going to say this is just a disaster, a colossal disaster, because we didn't bring back the nose tackle. And I get the right tackle thing. I still think that the move is to draft a guy in the first round. I think that's the move. Even though, I get it, I'm a big track record person. And the Bengals' track record of drafting tackles, not good. It's not good, bro. But just calm down. I promise. Sing a little Kumbaya, crisscross applesauce. We'll hold hands together, and it'll be okay. Casey, push back on everything you want to push back on.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's all, sunshine and rainbows out here, because you act like there's lots of nose tackles out there. There's one, and it's Tier Tart. And they just let him walk out the building. Now, I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom, because that could easily just suggest a change in the way that we do things, in the scheme-wise. We can have 5 guys up front and run more of what Pittsburgh likes to run with 5 guys. Now, we have a whole different set of players, and that would probably change a lot of what we'd like to do. Right. But you got to do what you got to do. If you don't have the personnel to do what you want, you got to make a change-up. And I'm sure Lou could do that. But if you want to keep things the way that they are, you would want to help. You would want to find a nose tackle to be able to deploy that sort of scheme. So that's where I have my first hesitation about this offseason plan. The second thing is I agree with the moves that we've made to improve the team, but you could argue a lot of those moves are at positions that we don't value very much, like safety, like running back, like tight end. The only move that's really made an impact on this team is the defensive tackle spot. And we traded for a player that has been so critical to how we do things on defense, that when he's not in the lineup, we're one of the worst defenses in the league. That's what we're going up against. And I know last year, the safety positions were crucial, and that's probably why we sucked a lot on defense last year, is because our safeties were giving up big plays after big plays. Secondary was horrendous. Von Bell coming in, huge factor in that department. But the fact that we're sitting here 7 days into free agency with only one true nose tackle left available in free agency, and he is not signed with the Cincinnati Bengals, tells me two things. One, they're playing a very dangerous game. 2, they gave him an offer that
he could refuse.
Which to me is like, what are we doing? Give him an offer that he won't refuse, because you don't want to take the risk of what's out there, what could happen, right? My opinion on that.
Sure.
You might think otherwise, but there is not a defensive tackle out there that you're going to feel comfortable at the nose tackle spot, that you're going to feel comfortable that you're not going to have to spend a pick otherwise in the draft, which Tier Tart allows you to not have to spend a pick on Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
And that's basically my argument here is if you don't get a guy now, if you don't get T.R. Tart now, and you just pick any old random guy like Calais Campbell at 38, you're going to force yourself to spend your second-round pick on T'Vondre Sweat or run the risk of not running a nose tackle, which to me I think it's not a good plan. It's not a good plan that the Bengals have deployed so far. Just give T.R. Tart the offer that he needs to sign here. You can figure out the right tackle spot because there's going to be plenty of guys in the draft. I think you could give Trent Brown an offer too. Like that's the other pivot move that I've seen plenty of people talk about, which I'd be okay with. But then you have to pick T'Vondre Sweat. Otherwise, you're not getting a nose tackle in the draft. Like there's just not a guy. I've heard McKinley Johnson or something like that from Texas A&M. I don't want that guy. I'm going to talk about RAS scores here for a second. He had a terrible RAS score.
I don't care about no damn RAS score.
For his size and weight. Unlike T'Vondre Sweat, who didn't actually test very well, but he's a massive dude, and the test is not fair to guys like him. So all I'm saying is I don't particularly like the position that they're in at this very moment. I'm not going to say it's disastrous, but they're playing a very dangerous game. T.R. Tart signs with another team, they're in a really bad spot.
Yeah. I get it. It felt like it wasn't caution though when I was reading on Twitter, which was what I got. It was straight up panic. And I'm not panicking. I'm not going to do that. You didn't realize this, Casey, but you essentially called me a hypocrite, which I loved. Cuz while I'm ranting and raving about getting safety, tight end, running back, those are the positions I always, crap on. And Casey's like, that's positions we don't value very much on this show. And he's right. He's absolutely right. We don't. But I think they improved at all three of those positions, so I'll give the optimistic. See, I'm just an optimistic guy. That's what you get from me. The thing that you bring up that is it is a fantastic point, which is where they're at. I said when they got Sheldon Rankins that if they get a tackle and a nose tackle, a right tackle and a nose tackle also in free agency, you then go into the draft with a luxury of you can just take the best player available. You don't need to fill holes. And that's a luxury. It truly is. It's where the Bengals were at a couple years ago, where people were like, just last year, the year before that, when we got Dax Hill and Miles Murphy, they're like, where are we going to go? I don't know. Now there's pretty evident holes on the starting 22 that you've got to shore up. Would I love the Bengals to get T.R. Tart? Yes. Can we agree that if we get T.R. Tart, we go back to the positive side of fandom?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
It felt like to me, I saw the smart guys, and these guys are very intelligent, the Joe Goodburys of the world and stuff like that, saying even if they get T.R. Tart, the defense has regressed. And I'm like, well, the defense is 31st in the league last year. I have a hard time believing it regressed, but it's neither here nor there. They got more pass rush. They got better they got better at safety. As long as the linebackers play a little bit better, it's going to be okay. But that's neither here nor there. If we get T.R. Tart, are we okay? Are you back on the positive side of this offseason?
It doesn't even need to just be T.R. Tart. If we got like an answer either at right tackle or nose tackle, because then your path is you can focus in on a path that makes sense, right? You can go get Josh Tupou if you don't get T.R. Tart and go draft a guy in the draft, right? You can go get T'Vondre Sweat and you feel okay spending your second round pick doing so. And I don't want the Bengals to be forced to take a right tackle and then subsequently right after that a nose tackle in the second round of the draft, or vice versa. Defensive tackle, nose tackle in the first round, then right tackle the second round. I don't want them to be forced to take positions just because they need them. I need this team to be as well-rounded as possible before going into the draft, because that's how you get guys that can help you out. And you BPAs, not force, you can take BPA. So that's where I'm at. T.R. Tart is the only nose tackle available. That's why I'm clamoring for T.R. Tart. Plus, he's probably cheaper than the other guy I'm going to talk about, which is Trent Brown. And I wouldn't mind Trent Brown. He's only going to be here for maybe like 2 years based on how Bengals do deals. But I think he would be a solid right tackle answer for the time being. He's played multiple positions on the offensive line, so it gives you that versatility. Big dude, bigger than Orlando Brown Jr., so we would have the 2 biggest tackles in the NFL, which I think pass blocking wise, that's that's a plus, right? But yeah, I mean, those are my answers. It was the Tier Tart Mackay Becton combo, or Trent Brown, go re-sign Josh Tupou, a guy that you've had on your team for a while. Those are my 2 scenarios that I feel like would be preferable. My good job, Bengals. We can go into the draft feeling comfortable. Right now, I'm not feeling comfortable about the draft with the way things stand. And I know they're going to probably spend on some free agents. They have to. I mean, they have 20-something plus million in cap space. But if they don't answer and address their holes, I'm not feeling good.